Hey everyone, it's SDS SuperCoach, providing SuperCoach content for you. I'm here to present a bit of a different style of video. Just trying to think of any sort of ideas now as we look at the run home here. 8 rounds to go, so I thought, you know what? We're going to do something a bit different, a type of video I haven't done before. I don't think I've really seen anyone do this type of video before. I'm going to fully review the rookies, from 2024. So with our rookies being very much less relevant now. We can sort of look back at the year of the rookies, and certainly I'm going to look over the top 5 worst rookies with some honourable mentions. Same with the best rookies with some honourable mentions. I've got 5 names here of the most frustrating / unlucky rookies this year, and the most underrated ones. So this might be more ones that we've just flat out missed. So yeah, I'm just gonna give an overall summary for the rookies this year. I guess we can talk about it. So I think we've had some pretty good cash gen this year, but at the same time we've had some really bad luck. And I think it was really a matter of if you pick the right rookies, you would have been rewarded massively. And the ones with the 50-50 decisions and got it wrong happened to me a few times. Certainly bites you on the ass. So I think we'll get the bad news out of the way. And I've ranked the best rookies in order. 3 to 5 are interchangeable, but I'm pretty happy with top 1 and 2. Worst rookies I'm not going to rank, but I think these 5 have probably been the worst rookies for this season. And yeah, I guess we'll start off with the bad news first, and we'll go over the worst rookies of the season. So we're going to have some honorable mentions to start things off. With 3 honorable mentions here. And let me know if I get this wrong, in my opinion, if there's anyone I missed out, that sort of thing. All right, so honorable mention number 1 goes to Hugo Garcia. Now, I actually questioned whether I should put him in because at the end of the day, he did make 97K, which isn't a bad result. It was just more that sort of a bloke that just got randomly dropped, never came back into the side, very frustratingly. It was a very awkward price to really sort of jump off, that sort of thing. Had more money to make, and we just was sort of left with just sitting him on the bench. Didn't play at all during the bye rounds, and he was just a bit of a disappointing rookie. I've got Biggie Nong, so I think there were a lot of red flags before picking him up that he might lose his spot in the side, and at the end of the day, he did actually eventually lose his spot in the side and hasn't played since round 7, and it's left owners at a really awkward price at 174K to just really sort of move off anyone. No DPP, I believe, either. I could be very wrong. Yeah, just forward status. So that is extremely awkward. And then another one goes to Sam Berry. It feels like a while ago since we've talked about Sam Berry or thought of him during SuperCoach this year, but he was mildly popular at the start, and he gave people a good start with an 80. I believe he got subbed out here, or was the sub against Melbourne. I think he missed in round 3. I think he might have got dropped in here. He was sub. Just a really disappointing starting rookie, especially at 226K, where it just hasn't worked out. So he's probably my main honourable mention. All right, so in my opinion, the worst rookies of the year, I've actually got a number 1 in my opinion, but that might be biased due to me still having him in the side. Look, we're going to start off with Toby Pink. Now, we'll head, also, by the way, quick disclaimer, I'm not including any like injured rookies. Now, there is one on here that got slightly injured, but just in general was a poor pick at the end of the day. But I'm not including like Josh Gibcus, Zach Reed. That's just pure unluckiness, like Darcy Jones. I'm not including those guys. So, um, look, we're going to start off with Toby Pink. Just with no DPP, I felt like there was a bit of hype around him because he was meant to be this mature age. North Melbourne had really limited backline options, and just this mature age bloke who can help us throughout the season. But unfortunately, he was made sub here. A lot of people were jumping on after this 44 and 58 due to the Nick Caulfield injury, the Zach Reed injury, the Josh Gibcus injury. A lot of carnage there in the defensive back line. And I think a lot of people went with Toby Pink. And I can totally understand it, but these scores just totally killed him. Made no cash gen. His highest was 199K, but the damage was already done. Just turned into at least a bloke that played during the bye rounds if he held, but just really frustrating to have as a pick for sure. And missed between rounds 4 and 7 playing the VFL. The next bloke we're going to talk about is we'll go to Nick Watson. So this is the bloke I was sort of talking about who actually got injured. He's actually started to make a bit of money now, but pretty sure most people that have him probably aren't playing anymore. But I was personally not a fan of the pick at the start. Hawthorn, a potential bottom four side as a small forward doesn't equal to good results. Now, obviously, Hawthorn have lifted their game, but when he was relevant, Hawthorn were playing as a bottom four side, and that just hurts. And then obviously he missed due to injury, which was really unlucky. But at the end of the day, scores of 26, 56 aren't going to get the job done, along with the elevated price. And I believe just the high draft pick sort of guy where people just went after him because he was a high draft pick and didn't really look at the role. With such a high price paying for a small forward for Hawthorn when they struggled early days, they were expected to struggle early days. Just wasn't a great result. Third one we're going to go to now. I don't know, but it's got to be Jake Rogers actually, in my opinion. He did play I think he played a game or two during the buys. He played one game during the buy round, which helps his case, I guess. But so I think the main reasoning here is after round 6, we weren't even looking at Jake Rogers. We weren't even looking at him. Heading into round 7, we were looking at for that downgrade option, we were looking at Riley Garcia. And at the end of the day, I think he made about 170K. He was really good as a rookie. Might have even been more money. But we decided to go with Jake Rogers due to this 98 Rising Star nominee type performance against the Eagles, which all stepped us away. I mean, some people would have stuck with Garcia, but the consensus was Rogers was the pick. And it just didn't work out. That 98 really baited us in losing a really good cash generator in Riley Garcia and made us pick Jake Rogers. And after that, he scored a 21, a 64, got dropped, made sub, didn't make an appearance for a few weeks, and then back in round 15. Just a bit of a car crash rookie at the end of the day, and he was the reason we sort of missed out on Riley Garcia for anyone that didn't go with him. So I thought this was a pretty disastrous sort of pick. Second to last, we're going to go with Zane Dersma. And as you guys knew heading into the season, I was not a fan whatsoever of this pick. I feel like this is similar to Nick Watson, where another one where people just looked at the draft pick, not at the role. And it sort of did come out that way, where 193K, that is a lot of money to spend. We knew that he was a half forward and he was going to play as a half forward. Very tough role in a really poor bottom two side to play in. So you actually started off relatively well, and that's probably what hurts even more, is that people 71, 53, sure, he's going fine. And then as soon as he had to make money, 29, 43, 32, he literally scored a 0 in his last game, is now out of the team. But the damage, not the damage, but he literally made a top of, barely people had him here, realistically, like less than 21K. And that's just not good enough. And that was to be expected, but with 32% of people starting him, it was a bit of a bit of a disaster if you went in there. Number one for me now, it's actually going to be Marty Hore. So this is really frustrating. He did get a couple of injuries during the year, I will say, but he scored he was named to play because we expected him to be the Jake Bowie replacement. Remember that Bowie got injured. He was out for 6 to 8 weeks. Marty Hore came to the side for the Dogs game, and we thought, you beauty, mature age, VFL player, really good VFL stats. Come back to Melbourne after he was previously here to just sort of cover Jake Bowie for a little bit, and scored a 60. Good start, perfect. Then everyone jumped on in round 2. He was named sub, which really hurt his cash gen to kick things off, and we're like, all right, that's a bit frustrating. But then round 3 hits, and I believe he was subbed off due to an injury. He was to miss 1 to 2 weeks. And then there was a little gap there of when he was healthy. And it was just pretty clear to see. I mean, it was clear to see with the Hawthorn game that his stability in the best 22 was not stable. And then round 3, we saw him full game, perfect, got subbed off and got an injury, missed 1 to 2 weeks. And then he had a little block of being available for games, but just couldn't really even get in the emergency list. And that's just a bit of a disaster because with 148K on his head, there actually wasn't anyone to side swap to. Really, you don't want to be side swapping rookies. And when we desperately needed a rookie to defender to go well, this just really hurts. So, yeah, so this is a bloke I still have in my side, and it's just a bit of an awkward price point. Didn't have DPP, so couldn't swing him. Just really frustrating with Marty Hall there. So that was really my sort of theory. All right, got the bad news out of the way. Oh, sorry, not fully the bad news. We're gonna save the best rookies for second last. I've also got some rookies for the run home, just to mention a few names for relevant rookies from now until the end of the season. Let's get into the most frustrating rookies. Oh, it says here unlucky. It's a mixture of frustrating and unlucky. Some players are different to others. So let's start off with Sam Closey. Now, you might be a bit surprised about this, but with this rip-roaring start here, now we know that rookies aren't meant to be able to keep up with 100 scores, but I felt like a lot of money was left on the table with this pick. 100, 124. Then these next couple of weeks were fine, but ever since the Brisbane game, there was really, and everyone jumped off around this period here. There was really only one good score there. The Carlton game was all right, but just really 440 scores, and that just really hurt his cash gen. I say this is frustrating because he could have. We were expecting him to make a lot more, and it just didn't turn out that way. So that was very frustrating with the Sam Closey pick. And yeah, it wasn't a bad pick at the end of the day, but just a lot of money left on the table. It felt like it was almost a shoo-in that he was going to get to 400K, but just didn't make as much money as we hoped. Obviously, still made a lot of money, but it was just frustrating because it was sort of one of those periods as well where the buy round started. People just wanted him to just be a player during the buys, and then he gives us 240s, and then yikes, that hurts. So, all right. The next one is Colby McKercher. Now this is certainly a lot more unlucky than frustrating, but a mixture of both. So he started off super well, made a good bit of money. Then he got injured in Geelong, dropped to 6. He was back the next week against the Hawks, scored a 34. That's all right. He's still working into things, but as you can see in pick teams, a lot of people dropped off the pick already. Then he came back, scored a 102, 135, playing off that half-back role, looked really good. And everyone thought, oh, Grouse, let's jump on him, and he could be a really good cash generator. As I expected, like this would have been a trade I would have done if I was in a better situation. And then he scored a 91 against Gold Coast, and then he gets I believe it's a foot injury, and he has not played since round 9. And that hurts because a lot of people were just sort of holding on to him. North Melbourne were saying that he would be back after the bye. A good chance he'd be back after the bye. We're heading into round 17. Still don't know if he's playing. So just just a double whammy here. A lot of people jumped off here, but then a few people jumped back on, and then he's out again. So yeah, just a really roller coaster sort of pick, but that's really unlucky with McKercher. Next, we're going to go with Riley Sanders. And as I should say with McKercher and Sanders, these two were sort of guys where we were expecting them to make a lot of money because we did really like their draft profile, that sort of thing. Inside midfielders, we thought, here we go. Poor start with the 43. We can accept that. Bad day for the Dogs. beautiful against the Suns. Beautiful, beautiful, very good stuff. And I'm actually trying to remember. I think he had a poor game against. I'm trying to remember. I think he might have been sub against Essendon and then sub again against St Kilda. I think that was, I think that's what happened. I was trying to remember, but I'm very certain that after a few really good scores here, Bevo just made him sub, and that just killed him. Um, yeah, that hurt extremely. And then I believe the St Kilda game he was sub again, and that's when everyone had to jump off that sort of thing. So, um, yeah, so I think from memory, I believe his ownership was at 73.3 heading into the Essendon game. Then it dropped to 59 heading into the St Kilda game, and then everyone jumped off. So very frustrating. With Riley Sanders could have been a lot better of a cash generator, but just due to the sub games, and Bevo killed him. Next up, we are going to go with Jai Clark. Now, I wouldn't. Some people might classify him as being in the worst rookies. I actually reckon it's not been terrible. Like, he has played the majority of the rounds. He was decent. He was decent by cover. I mean, didn't play in round 12. I believe he was suspended, but he did have a couple little good scores here, and there were little spurts where he could have made a bit of money, but then he was named sub, that sort of thing. And now he's at a period where people might be able to use him as cover or look to swap him. So I don't think the pick's been as bad as advertised. It's obviously frustrating, but at least he's played a fair bit of footy and could be cover of some sorts. But yeah, just frustrating that he could never get to a point where it was sort of acceptable enough to move off him. Last one now. I think this was really unlucky and very frustrating. It is Jordan Sweet here. A lot of people, when it was announced that Soldo was going to be out till post buy, everyone jumped on him. Heading into the Crows game, I jumped on when he was making his playing his second game for the St Kilda game. Played against Collingwood, beautiful. Scored a 136 against St Kilda and went, here you go. And I believe this was the same round heading into that week where Rowan Marshall had like a 200 break even. And I think there was just a bunch of people, including myself, where you go, sweet. Pardon the pun. Let's just grab this bloke who should be able to score better than most rookies. And then the most frustrating part happened. He got an illness. He missed round 9 against Geelong, and they decided to play Visentini in his absence after that game against Adelaide. And then round 10, they actually kept Visentini in the side. So it just totally killed people's structures with him having him at R2. And that just totally killed trade plans, that sort of thing. Just a little illness, and there you go. That just killed a lot of people's sides, and that was very frustrating. Very unlucky, but frustrating with Jordan Sweet there. So he certainly killed a lot of structures there. Let's head into the most underrated rookies. So rookies that we've missed that not many people really jumped on in the end. Honorable mention to Riley Garcia. A lot of people did jump on him, but Jake Rogers certainly baited us in there. Logan Morris, he made his debut against the Suns. So started off pretty slow, but all of a sudden, boom, boom, boom. He ended up making, what is that? 170K. I think the question was the job security, but turned out to be a really solid rookie at the end of the day. And yeah, that was one we certainly missed. Another one we'll talk about is Harvey Gallagher. Now, this is probably the most tame one of the lot, but he's played every single game for the Dogs and could have been decent rookie cover. Didn't make the best amount of money, but certainly a guy that you could bank on playing each week and having on your bench to just cover if need be. Made a little bit of money, that sort of thing. So that certainly was one that we missed, but it's a bit hard to tell with Bevo, isn't it? Playing that guy every week, and then Sanders doesn't play. I'll save the best till last. My Kelty Lafau, 102K forward. Richmond picked him up in the preseason. It just turned out, I mean, West Coast, that game was really good from him. just turned out to make a lot of money. I mean, he got to as high as 280K, and he made about 177K from his 102K price. And he just turned out to be a decent little cash generator for people that did jump on. Only 2.5–3% of people actually had Mike Kelty. So that 108 massively spiked his cash generation, and unfortunately got that injury against Geelong. But played every single game after round 2, and yeah, he turned out to be a very cheeky cash generator if you went there. Couple more. This one hurts. Kai Lohman has the main two are the ones that these last two are the ones that really hurt. So he was mildly popular heading into round 5 against Melbourne after his 88 score against North Melbourne. Scored an 81, but look at this. He went as high as 428K. So, and he was priced at 150, but most relevant at 161. And yeah, he just made loads of money. Once again, I think it's purely because um, we just didn't know his job security at the end of the day. We just didn't know it because, let's be honest, like Brisbane haven't had that many injuries during their prime run. We didn't know whether to trust Chris Fagan or not. And yeah, they've now found a guy that's going to be in their best 22 for a long time. So that was a rough miss. And then the biggest miss of them all, Bodie Uland. Bodie Uland. And to be honest, he's been one of the rookies of the year. With a bad year in terms of defender rookies, the fact that we've missed him here, he has made a whopping 319,000, and we've missed this. There's obviously a couple of bad scores here, but the fact that, you know, in how bad of a year the defender rookies were, we've missed this sort of bloke just really hurts our side. I mean, he went 157 against St Kilda. Could you believe that? He's actually a really good player. So shout out to Bodie Uland as the biggest miss of the year. And I believe last year the biggest miss was Jake Buckley from the Giants. So I think what we're learning here is that we actually aren't getting that much info out of the New South Wales teams, the Queensland sides in particular, the expansion sides with the Suns and the Giants. So it hopefully heading down the line, we can actually get some more info during pre-season on these guys like Euland and Jake Buckley last year. So we can so we can actually pick these blokes. But shout out to Euland. He has been one of the rookies that just about, gee, you'd almost say he's been probably top 3 rookies of the year, but unfortunately no one jumped on him. His highest was at 5.6%, but then a lot of people jumped off and then he scored a 109. He actually missed a couple of games here, but been a great rookie. Let's do some honorable mentions for the best rookies. Let's do the best rookies here. Honorable mention is Alex Sexton here. Now, you might be surprised why he isn't in the top 5. I was going to put him in the top 5, but let's remember he did miss, what's that, 7 games? A 7-game period. He got dropped after the Dogs game. And then basically more than half of owners jumped off him. Now, he became extremely popular towards round 9 and now. But at the end of the day, I think he lost a lot of points here just due to him not being in the side and not being reliable during that period. And a lot of people just jumped off him, and fair enough, I did as well. And people that held the faith got rewarded there. So if he slowly made money like this throughout the whole season, he would have been in the top 5. But due to this absence, it just wasn't reliable for him as a rookie in the early stages of the season. Joel Friger played a few games during the buys. Turned out to be a really good option, 117K. As you can see here, no scores below 50. He's been super reliable, super consistent for us as a rookie. And a lot of people jumped off here, and he just did his job magnificently, Joel Friger. So Friger is an honourable mention. I'm going to throw Bruce Revel in there. He's very similar. Another one that played throughout the bye rounds. Held his spot. No bad scores here. His lowest was a 55 against the Crows in his second game. But played during the bye rounds, really good player to watch. So this was a really good honourable mention for Bruce Revel. We're going to go with Blake Howes here, just because of, as I've said a few times, how bad the defender rookies were this year. That he was just our saving grace, making a little bit of money. A lot of people jumped off here before the Lions game, before the Tigers game, but just gradually made enough money. And he did get dropped round 11 against the Saints, but did a very good job. Got to 293K. He was a very good rookie for us, starting at 123K. So he was fantastic. A couple more honorable mentions. Aaron Cadman just did his job extremely well. And if you got off him at the right time, you were rewarded. If you held him if you held him past the Essendon game, you would have been really shafted there. But as you can see, he did his job relatively well, made some good money. Shout out to Cadman, especially as a key forward. That's pretty tough to do. And lastly, it's got to be my guy, Ollie Dempsey. Is that not how you spell it? I thought it was they said it was Oliver Dempsey. But started at 148K. I started him, so he's just about been my favourite rookie this year, just purely because he was a pod for me. Scored a 96. I just liked the way he played in the preseason games. I just took a punt on him. Like, it's tough to predict Geelong rookies to be good, just due to I guess how stubborn Chris Scott can be with certain players and just flick out the young ones. So look, there was a little patch here, but he just gradually didn't drop too much in price and was just reliable for people that held on to him, including me. Like this 122, I witnessed the 99. I jumped off him in round 16, actually lost 50 points, getting rid of Dempsey for Kerno, but that's another story. But especially the early start as well. He was just a very solid rookie for us at the end of the day. Let's head into the top 5. Number 5, I'm going to go with Sam Darcy from the Dogs. The father son of Luke Darcy, of course. He was brilliant. I don't think I think he put in one bad score. Other than that, yeah, the 49, a couple of 49s here, but yeah, if you got rid of him at the right time after this Swans game, then yeah, at the end of the day, he made loads of money. I mean, how much money did he actually make? About 255K. Very good result. Put in some absolutely belting scores, like against the Suns, but barely anyone had him there. But this Richmond score stands out. A tough matchup in the Giants. Scored an 84. A lot of 80s around here, and he was just a really good on-field rookie scorer. Number 4, we are going to go to Harley Reid. So the reason he probably isn't above number 3 is that he did get rested for a game and there were a couple of inconsistent scores. And there was also a little moment in round 3 where a few people were just doubting him. So they dropped off him, because I'm rating this as you want to, like, number 1 is going to be a bloke where there was just never at any point where anyone was considering getting rid of him, which just shows how good the rookie was. But there was just a little period here where you could have moved off him. But yeah, some massive scores people were rewarded with. And I believe I got rid of him for this heading into the Melbourne game. Of course, he goes 138. But yeah, just a couple of really good scores. This 3-week period here was just massive. So yeah, Harley Reid goes at number 4. He's going to be a primo down the line for years to come, that's for sure. Number 3, I'm going to go with Matt Roberts. So he eventually became a defender. We could move him into the defensive line. Really consistent across the board here up until this Giants game. Like, this is what I really like. Didn't miss a game. Sydney had the bye in round 5. And then this Giants game, if you got rid of him at that point, that is a great result. Unfortunately, I held him for this 47 and lost 27K. But he got to 416K extremely quickly. Barely any moment during this run here where people were jumping off him up until the Giants game. But yeah, just this 7-week run. His lowest score was a 69 against the Pies, but other than that, extremely consistent as a rookie. We love to see it. Number 2 is going to go to, now this is purely because there was a little moment where there was a period where people were jumping off this pick, and it's going to go to Jeremy Sharp. And a lot of people miss him due to the illness, and people just prefer Jai Clark. But really, I mean, where was this little period? Yeah, right here, with the Dogs game, and then along with, after the West Coast game, and then after the Dogs game, where some people were dropping off, and this is probably the reason why he isn't number one. Did make a lot of money, really consistent scorer, really good scores here, between round 8 and 11 there. And yeah, he was just fantastic, fantastic rookie for people. Couple of solid scores here, a couple of bad scores here, but yeah, just a really good rookie that a lot of us missed out on. Number one is going to go to Darcy Wilson, because at no point was anyone considering getting rid of Darcy Wilson. The only time would have been if you were a little bit impatient after the Richmond game, sorry, after the Essendon game, but still then only lost 2%. But look at this. Rookie of the year for me. And if you got rid of him at the correct time, then you would have been rewarded and made a whopping. How much money do you make? I mean, he was on 418K, started at 130K. I believe it's something like, my math isn't mathing. I do apologize, but nearly something like 300K. So he was just a great rookie. It actually might have been, yeah, I don't know, but you guys can do the maths. He was just been an extremely good rookie. Couple of lean moments to start off with, but he was a slow burn and eventually got wheels into motion, and a bloke that we could just hold long term during the season. So that was magnificent. So yeah, there's sort of my review with my rookies. And just a real quick one. These are just relevant rookies for the run home. Sean Maker, Sin, Joe Richards, if people have him, Logan Evans, Lawson Humphreys, Colton Thelstrup, Dowling, Maniz Wakefield, and Jacob Blight from the Tigers. So I think we'll end it there, guys. I think we've been going long enough. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that sort of review with the rookies this year. It's been a solid year for rookies, a lot of frustrating moments though. And if you did nail it right, you would have had a really good season. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Cheers.